We've now shot down an armed Iranian drone that was advancing on coalition forces. We were looking at defense stocks today. We're a business network. Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, General Dynamics. All these stocks actually closed in the red. L3 Technologies ending in the red. So as we watch these stocks, General, I'm curious your thoughts about the fact that we just engaged the Syrians in air-to-air combat. And this really is a turn in policy for us and, frankly, in events, military events for us there.
Absolutely. Cheryl, there's no question about it. You're seeing, and by the way, it's very tightly controlled. There's no county option for like that Navy F-18 pilot or the Air Force F-15E pilot that shot the drone down today. That comes directly from what we call the JFAC, the Joint Force Air Component Commander. It's a 3-star general. They know exactly what they're doing. They pass that information through AWACS. Those pilots commit, and they're authorized to do it, but they have a lot of intelligence around it, and we're not going to let them push us around when they're heading towards the Syrian Defense Force, Democratic Forces, which are friendlies. We're backing up some U.S. forces there. We must protect them, and clearly this president and this Secretary of Defense are doing that.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly are, if you will, doubling down on our forces there. But, you know, I think what was more troubling to me from a policy perspective was this armed Russian fighter jet that flew within 5 feet of a U.S. plane. That's Russian aggression that we haven't seen for a long time, since the Cold War, correct me if I'm wrong. And then we also, you know, here we are trying to, like, open these channels with the Russians, and you know, and sanctions are being debated in Congress against the Russians. What do you think of all of this?
Well, I think that pilot got orders from Moscow. Now, I was involved, probably have the record for the most intercepts when I was a commander of the Alaska NORAD region back during the Cold War. And they just don't violate those protocols without some thought and guidance. They're very tightly controlled as well. I believe it came from Moscow, and they're trying to send us a signal. We've been flying these, we call them rivet joint flights, electronic reconnaissance flights in the Baltic for many, many, many years, as well as out in the Pacific. And so I'm very disturbed about that. I think it may be just they're waiting for our reaction, but the fact is it's not a good sign.
Do you think that the Russians are trying to bait President Trump? Do you think that that's at all happening here?
Well, I think they're trying to look like a little muscular and flex their muscles. They know what he thinks. They're testing him in different parts of the world. That's a NATO region. That's a NATO mission. So they're also looking at our NATO allies and seeing what they're saying. And so it is a little feeling out what's going on, sniff and find out, etc. But it's not a good sign because, as I say, it had to come, Cheryl, from Moscow.
Let me ask you, if you were advising President Trump right now, what would you say to him?
I'd tell him to continue to do what he's doing, to make sure the rules of engagement that we have in Syria and Iraq, as well in Afghanistan, are aggressive rules of engagement. We're not going to accept that kind of conduct by the enemy, and we're not going to be intimidated.